fought and
Yeah.
computer won and they went off the road and destroyed this.
Jesus. No.
I always thought that crashing uphill is always the best. If you're gonna,
My sister lives on the top of a maybe 100-foot hill.
15 years, huh?
Lake Leona. And her driveway is just like this. It's unpaved and it's rusted. I mean, it's built right into it, so it's like a slot car. And the first time I went there, I got about halfway up to, nah, I'm not gonna do that. So
Well, the
my
first 15 are the
brother-in-law
hardest,
came
so
down
you're
and said,
past the
I'll
tough
drive
one.
up. The only trick is never touch the brakes and hit it fast. So it was in the winter, and he hit the bottom of the thing about 45 miles an hour. He says, coming down, don't touch the brakes. Remember, it's easier to stop a car. or
We
pull
have
out
a, have a
once
quorum. I
it's
was
going
wondering if we were going to
on.
have
If
one
you come
tonight.
down
So
and land
good.
in the snowdrift,
Yeah.
you're there.
oh boy.
He's 90 years old. He's still driving.
That same driveway? Well, yeah, I guess if you know your thing, and you know your vehicle, and you know your conditions,
Well,
and you know your limits.
what's concerning is he lost his license for a while. He just got it back when my sister broke her
I
hip.
can have multiple
So he's driving them both around.
Lost it like had voluntarily given it up?
I don't know what happened. Never inquired
Yeah,
about that.
yeah, that's not a,
likely,
a safe stop.
I missed it. Who is this?
My brother-in-law,
Brother-in-law?
my twin sister married someone that's 20 years older than me.
Ooh,
you can't
So he's 90.
he's 90?
Yeah,
That might be the reason why he lost it.
it could be.
Yeah.
But he got it back.
I'm trying to remember. I think over 80 you have to be retested.
Something like that, yeah. It's getting nearer. It's getting closer.
I don't know anything about that, I've never heard of that.
Oh, commission.
That's the kind of thing, like, if you see a place to write
Raised
about
enough
that,
money
that
to
would be awesome.
pay medical
Yes,
debt.
yes, you can edit the application.
Over 3,600 people.
Wow.
Really?
It'll be after next.
They didn't knock on my
They
door.
found out,
Next-
they
next-
found out
I'm gonna
through
update the
the
transportation
that
commission
$1
next
was worth.
That's Thursday.
Got matched, huh? Okay.
And they raised $15,000.
I'll start adding people Friday, it's not a one-time,
They've
you know,
got
like, so Friday.
660 some people who couldn't afford medical
You don't,
care.
it's
That's
not a
impressive.
time-sensitive thing, like I said,
Yeah.
the transportation commission will
And
meet
they
one
did
more
it all
time.
anonymously, so they don't know who they helped,
Actually
and people
happen.
don't know who helped them.
The application stays live,
But
and
That's
I
very
thought,
nice.
You know,
and that's one of the things I'll bring
it
up.
should
That's good.
be relevant, not
Yeah.
Yeah.
how unusual.
When, since my brother, my sister-in-law, my father are all physicians, I like that especially. All right, it is 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order of the Planning Commission of Meridian Township. Today is Monday, July 11. First, we'll have a roll call. Now, Commissioner Shrewsbury advised us that she will not be present tonight, so let's have a roll call. Commissioner McConnell.
Here.
Commissioner Primo.
Here.
Commissioner Cordell.
Here.
Commissioner Shrewsbury is absent. Commissioner Richards.
Here.
Commissioner Snyder.
Here.
Vice Chair Tresize.
Here.
And the chair is here. We have a quorum for tonight's meeting. I see we have members of the public visiting us tonight. You folks are invited to address the board if you wish. I think you're probably here for one of the specific issues before the board tonight. So we invite you to address us if you feel necessary at the time of that discussion. If you do decide to address the board, we ask you to identify yourself by name and your home address, please. All right? Thank you. So right now, you don't want to talk about anything in general. All right, so there are no public comment. We'll move on to approval of the agenda. Is there a motion? Motion by Commissioner Cordell, seconded by Commissioner Richards. All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is approved for tonight. Item number 5 is approval of the minutes of the June 27 meeting of this board.
So moved.
Moved by Vice Chair Tresize. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner McConnell. All in favor of approval of the minutes. Is there discussion? Any corrections?
They're impeccable.
That's gotta be a first.
It's got to be a first, yeah.
I will pass that note along.
No additions or corrections to the minutes, therefore we'll call for the vote. Is there, it's been moved and seconded, all in favor? Aye. The minutes are approved. Therefore, we are now on item number 6, communications. We have,
3 in your packet, and I handed 1.
okay. I can make out, apparently this was signed by 4 people?
It was signed by 5 residents.
5, okay,
Yes.
5, yeah. All right. And everybody has a copy of the recently added communication. Is there anyone who wishes to discuss any of the communications that we've received?
I would just point out that the 3 we had received before today were in favor of the proposal for the special use permit 22071. The one we received in
Today?
hard copy today was opposed.
Yes, I agree with that.
And also, the hard copy indicates that 5 signatures out of 10 visits.
Yes.
All right. So then we are now on to item number 7, which is public hearings. There is only one, that being special use permit 22-071, the Butterflies Group Child Care Unit.
Thank you. The applicant, of course, is here tonight. They have requested a special use permit to operate a group childcare home for up to 12 children at the property at 2149 Quarry Road. It is a, it's there, as you see there. They do have a license for a family daycare for 0 to 6 children. That was effective retroactively to January 3rd of this year. The Code of Ordinances does allow group child homes in as a non-residential use in a residential district. It's one of those things, subject to special use permit approval. In accordance with Child Care Organizations Act, State of Michigan, the Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs, LARA, Child Care Licensing Division, they regulate child care facilities based on a number of children. Facilities greater than 6 with a maximum of 12, as I said, are called group child care homes, subject to local zoning approval. The future land use calls this R2. It fits within future land use. The subject property, just under a third of an acre, fronts on Quarry Road, about less than 300 feet away from Okemos. Daily pickup and drop off, according to interview with the applicant, they start at 7 a.m. and at 5 p.m., so 10 hours a day, 5 days a week. Pursuant to Michigan State zoning regulations, the Zoning Enabling Act requires the township to issue a special use permit for a group child care home if it meets all standards. And I've listed those there with our analysis on what appears in the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act. I followed that up with our own standards I'm looking on page 4 of my report. I don't know what it is in the packet. I'm looking at my report here. Group child care homes, we have 5 separate criteria in our zoning ordinance, and the subject meets all the dimensional standards. It meets the development standards for single-family residential. Parking for single-family residential does comply with our parking requirements. There are no outstanding enforcements or concerns from the township fire or building officials. There are no open violations on the property. As I noted, one of the things in our analysis for a non-residential use in a residential district, the word should comes up a lot, and one of those shoulds is that it should front on a major road. It should be on the edge of a district, not shall, should. So looking at that, as I noted, it's 278 feet from the road edge to the subject property's driveway, as I measured on the township parcel viewer, and it's only separated from Okemos Road by 2 parcels. It's on, when I just push this, right, to switch? There it is. So this is the subject property right here where I've got the cursor. There's two properties, and then that's Okemos Road. So that's where the location is. If you have option to approve, you can approve this with conditions, or you can deny if you've got grounds for denial, and we will present a resolution at a future meeting. And with that, I can answer questions, or the applicant can take the stance, come to the podium.
You gave a copy of the Michigan laws,
I did.
and there's a provision there that says a child, where is it here? I just lost it. Is not subject to.
A family daycare of 0 to 6 is not subject to zoning approval.
Okay.
A group daycare is subject to special
excess
use
of
permit.
6. Okay.
But it shall be issued if it meets criteria.
So the
Right.
difference is in the name. If it's a family unit, it's under 6, or 6 or under. And
Correct.
if it's a group, then it's more than 6, up to
Correct.
12.
They are, as I said, they're currently running a 6-child
Right.
daycare, a family daycare with up to 6, yes.
Have you done a drive-by of this property?
I visited last week, myself and I'll introduce our intern, Joey. He came with me just to give him some experience. And the very pleasant experience. The fence, the rear area is completely fenced in, opaque fencing. The house is immaculate. We did happen to run into one parent who said they were really pleased with the service, and they were anticipating the younger daughter being there next year.
My question was about the backyard fencing.
Yes.
Is it opaque all the way around, or just at the very back?
No, all the way around. I will say that let's see, looking at this picture, the west part of the fence is like cedar. It's a different style of fencing. It's the neighbor's fence, correct? And then they've tied into the neighbor's fence with 6-foot opaque all the way around.
Okay.
And then there's gates for access on the sides of the house, but they're closed. Yes.
Although I didn't see it explicitly stated, but for up to 12 children, 2 people is sufficient staffing?
That'll be up to the state. I'm told by the applicant, yes. When you go from 7 to 12, you have to have 2, and they don't anticipate having to hire any staff to fill that second spot.
Cheaper by the dozen.
Correct.
Varies by the age of the child, too.
Christine?
Sorry, I had a question about, I guess, do we need to take into consideration the licensing at all because the current, or the most recent license is expired? Or not,
It is
Yes.
not.
It's not, okay.
When, at the time, I'm sorry, let me explain. At the time of the application, I've been sitting on this for a couple months. At the time of the application, they had an expired license. I've been in contact with the state. They worked with the state very closely. They had a minor issue. It wasn't anything to endanger the children or anything like that, but they got that taken care of. The family license has been issued, and as I said, it was retroactively approved back to January 3rd. And it's good for 2 years. Yeah. So they're well within their license.
So that license is the one for up to 12 kids?
No,
No,
they
up to
can't
6.
get that. It's a chicken and egg.
Gotcha.
They can't get that without our approval, but we weren't going to give our approval until the family license was taken care of.
Okay.
Okay.
Do I understand correctly that this is used as a residence for the people running this program? When
Yes.
the children are not there?
Yes.
I mean, it's a residence and a child care center.
That is correct. And there's pretty, I feel like there's pretty clear demarcation between this is the room that's used for play, this is the basement, that's play, and then this is the living area, and there's not really any go-between.
Anyone else?
Go ahead. I had a question just based on what Vice Chair Trezise said about depending on the ages of regards to staffing.
Yeah, I've been involved in childcare licensing through my work in the schools. The number of staff depends on the number of students and the age. So it could change if you have a lot of toddlers, 3-year-olds, whatever. School-age children is probably 2 for 12. But as the age gets younger, the staffing needs get higher.
So that's something that,
The state
depending on...
regulates that.
Oh, okay.
State will regulate that. We don't.
I'd like to point out that the letter, the hard copy letter that we received talked about effect on traffic, but it included a question about whether or not staff traffic will be increased because of this. What you're telling us is that the existing staffing will be sufficient for the upgrade.
Based on my conversation with the applicant, yes, there will be no additional traffic from staffing.
Go ahead, see, yeah.
I also drove by the site, and they have a 2-car driveway with a shoulder on it for a 3rd car. And it's deep enough so that they can probably get 4 cars or 5 cars into that driveway at one time outside the garage for pickup and drop off. It's got a large pad.
Hi, I'm Ibrahim.
You're going to have to go up to the mic.
Hi, I'm Ibrahim. I live in the house. Well, the applicant's son. So yeah, recently we have added the driveway extension with the approval, obviously, from Meridian Township. The driveway extension is deep enough to fit 2 cars on that, plus the 2 on the front. So we can have possibly a total of 5 cars on the driveway itself. All at once. So I just wanted to kind of add that to clarify. As far as the question I heard earlier, which about the staffing and traffic, so the staff itself is going to be obviously my mother, which is the the applicant in this situation, as well as my dad, which we obviously live in the home. So there is no extra traffic that's going to happen during those business hours or even afterwards. It's going to be the same amount of vehicles that are already at the house at the time of pick up or drop off. All right.
Thank you for that. Could you describe for us how most of the pickups and drop-offs happen? I know that the road goes to a cul-de-sac and then also has another option for leaving and entering the neighborhood. And I'm curious what most of the current pickup and drop-off sort of patterns are and how those might change. I mean, we've had cases before where childcare expands and it tends to be siblings, so there's not any more traffic.
Yeah.
It sounds like that might be the case here. And maybe also address the concern about where the bus stop is, if you would.
So yeah, the bus stop, actually, do you mind if I? Yeah, so this is where we are. The bus stop is actually all the way down here, right by, I think it's Joe Pass and Corey. That's where the bus drop is for, the public schools. Now, that being said, majority of the families that, come into the daycare are usually using Okemos Road. So when they come in, they are turning the left or right onto the Corey Road. Majority of the time, they either park on the driveway itself to get their children or on the extension. Now, that being said, majority of the time, it's 2 parents at a time is how we have it set up currently. Where we have the 2 vehicles as well as the 3rd one in case a parent, wants to pick up their kid early or whatever, they can still kind of move out of the way or like come in and leave. So that's kind of how it's set up currently.
Commissioner Cordell, did you have a comment? Question?
It was about the bus stop. I was curious where that was located.
So the public school bus stop is like down here.
Quite a bit of ways.
Yeah, yep, absolutely. No further.
Anyone else have any questions or comments? My only comment is after looking at the photographs of the facility, my son is 46 years old. Will you take him?
I don't know if the state will allow that.
No, okay.
I had a comment. I noticed that with this letter that we received that was signed by multiple residents of Quarry Road, I did take a moment to just kind of locate where they are at on the street, and most of the residents who signed this live on the cul-de-sac, which is, I mean, a considerable distance from where this they proposed, you know, where the daycare is going to be. So I just found that interesting, and especially now knowing where the bus stop is, I don't see the bus stop being a concern. And then the communications that we received in support of the special use permit, they're more near where the applicants live. They're right next to, across the street from the home. So I just kind of, for myself, I put a little more weight behind that because they're the immediate neighbors. They're not 20 houses down. And I think we need, as a parent of 2 young kids who's looked for childcare, I would be very interested in your childcare facility after seeing these pictures. Good childcare is very difficult to find, and having it within a community in a residential setting is something special. And you know, so I'm fully in support of this.
Any other questions or comments? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that along those lines, and we did have for a number of years I think it was 6 and under in terms of numbers next to us. But I know several of the neighbors actually had the ability to just walk their children to daycare, either, through a fence or something. So there is arguably for younger families in the area, it's as mentioned, a bit of an amenity actually if it's close by. So I think there is, if you have younger children that need daycare, it is a positive. So I think that somewhat outweighs or at least balances the concern that maybe there'll be a little more traffic. And obviously there's going to be more traffic there, but we're not talking significant number of traffic. We're talking maximum 6 vehicles in the morning and 6 in the evening. And again, if most people are coming on and off Okemos Road, it's really not impacting the majority of the residents in that subdivision. So.
Yeah, and as you pointed out, it's periodic traffic. It's not continuous all day long.
Right. And it's not weekend typically. So.
Commissioner Cordell.
I seem to be in favor of this for the straw poll. I happen to live across from a home that has up to 12 children in it, and I see cars parking, but I don't see any problem with that particular situation across the way from us, and I don't foresee that in this instance either.
I think it's reasonable to point out, too, that the increased traffic in the morning and in the late afternoon is by parents who, by definition, have young children in the car. We're not talking about a bunch of teenagers rocketing through the neighborhood. Under normal circumstances, they're going to be careful drivers.
And also, if it tends to be, if you're drawing in a lot of clients from the neighborhood, is it really increased traffic? These parents are on their way to work already. They're just dropping them off. If some of them, I would presume some of them are going to be coming from this fairly large neighborhood.
Anything else? Do we want to call a straw vote?
You want to give them a chance to speak.
Yeah, I should ask. Is there anything else that you would like to present to the board? No? Okay. All right, then why don't we have a straw vote on whether or not to approve this special use permit?
Next meeting. For the next meeting.
For the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay. So all in favor? Roll, okay. All right, so we'll call a straw vote then. Let's start with Vice Chair Trezise.
I favor it.
Commissioner Richards?
In favor.
Commissioner Cordell?
In favor.
Commissioner Snyder?
Support.
Commissioner Primo?
Support.
Commissioner McConnell?
Support.
And the chair is in support. Very good. We will vote on this at the next meeting of the board.
Which is when?
When is our next meeting?
25th.
Today's the 11th, 11, 14, 25th.
25th.
2 weeks.
All right.
Thank you.
That is the only public hearing scheduled for today. There appears to be no unfinished business. So we are now on other business. Item 9. I'm going to be on vacation. Can you cover for me? Are we going to have a quorum?
Check, make sure we have.
Yeah. Thank you. You're not going to be here the next meeting either.
Yep.
We won't have a
I'll be in
quorum.
touch.
Quorum is 5.
No, it's not. Go ahead and enjoy your... Or you could divorce him and be here, you know.
It's okay.
Glacier, Banff, and Jasper.
I was going to say, there was this whole thing going on, and I was kind of curious what was... Anyway.
All right, we are now going to discuss item number 9, the text amendment to RRA alteration or deletion.
This is the next submittal. We've been telling you that we've been looking at our zoning ordinances in light of the recommendation from the master plan that we consolidate zoning districts. To that end, we eliminated the RRR, the triple R district. That didn't affect anybody's zoning. This is the first suggestion that would. There are 7 properties in the township, and I'll show them to you really quick, that are zoned double RA, one family suburban estate. We are proposing that the township administratively rezone those parcels to RA, one family medium density. 6 of those parcels are, if I can, here. There we go. Okay, here we go. Oh, they're on the same page. Okay. 6 of those parcels are right here. If you see where the cursor is, this is Van Atta Road. Of those 6 parcels, they range in size from about 6,800 square feet to 2,900 square feet. There's one other parcel over here on Cornell Road. This is actually, it looks like there's 2 parcels here. This one on the corner, that's an error. That has been that was rezoned in 2019 to C1, I think, or C2. It's a commercial zoning. So that means that there's only one parcel here that's RRA. Now, the Van Atta parcels are largely non-conforming for the double RA zone. We bring 5 of them into, at least size-wise, into conformity. There's a 6th one there that's landlocked and under control of the Ingham County Land Bank. Then the one on Cornell Street, it doesn't make any sense at that point to leave one parcel out there. And it doesn't affect their conformance, but it helps, but it gets rid of a zoning district. If you are interested in seeing this as a full write-up and an analysis, we would be happy to bring that to you next week, but we just wanted to present this to you tonight and get your feedback.
What are the size limits for the RRA? I don't see that in your memo.
Hold on. RRA, here it is, right here. Minimum lot area for the RRA is 30,000 square feet. So I could give you a table showing, but like I said, 5 of the 6 Van Atta parcels, I think I'm misspeaking. I think I'm misstating myself. I don't think any of the Van Atta parcels
Doesn't look look like.
Yeah, none of the Van Atta parcels meet that. By rezoning them to RA, that would bring 5 of those 6 into conformance. We would bring those lots into conformity as far as lot size goes. It doesn't affect the Cornell property. It's in conformance. It's going to be in conformance either way.
Right, and all this does is affect the minimum lot size, not the maximum.
Correct. Correct.
So if someone wanted to build a mansion out here on those 5 lots that conform to the RAA, even if it was 20,000 square feet, you can do that. So it's not prohibiting anybody from building as they wish, it's just giving them options.
Absolutely, correct. Correct.
But I think it's worth looking at eliminating the unnecessary.
Okay.
Because none of them are in a location that would result in a subdivision of large lots that might want that minimum size for marketing.
That's a really good point. We're not proposing anything that could be further subdivided by somebody in the future to create really teeny tiny lots. We're suggesting the least, how do I say this, the least amount of district that would bring the most conformance into it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thanks. You get it.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
If changing that brings 5 houses into conformance, how did they get out of conformance to begin with?
I wasn't here, I don't know. We have a lot of that.
Deniability, I love it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's interesting to me. The other question I have is, I looked at that and it was sort of a so what. I mean, are there 15 paragraphs that we're getting rid of? I mean, are we, I understand we're trying to consolidate, but I mean,
It's 3 or 4 pages of text.
yeah, and what, I mean, tell me the significant advantage or disadvantage of doing it or not doing it.
If something was to happen to the parcels that we're talking about, they would require variances to rebuild their house because of the lot size issue.
Okay.
This would remove that burden from them.
Okay.
It also it helps achieve one of the goals in the township's master plan, which is to consolidate zoning districts.
Okay, that's helpful, thank you.
Anybody else? Just offhand, do you happen to know what the zoning status is of the development going on in the old Walnut Hills Golf Course?
Okay.
So, good evening, everyone. There is currently 1 house being built on Walnut Hills Golf Course, which is permitted in the zoning district that Walnut Hills is zoned. It is a very large house, but it is 1 house. So
On 300 acres.
My understanding is the family does have plans to build at least 1 more house potentially, but on that golf course, there is no plans for any sort of subdivision of any sort.
I was just wondering what the zone is that house is being built in.
That is, I believe it's technically zoned rural residential because it was previously a golf course. But it is one of our large lot districts. I can pull it up right here for you real quick. If I can remember how this works. Yeah, most of it's zoned rural residential. The front of it's actually zoned RAA. At some point, I will work with them to rezone the front of it just because we really don't like split zoned parcels.
Yeah, there used to be a house there, right, fronting on Lake Lansing Road at the front of it. Yeah, it was not necessary to this discussion. I was just wondering, because that's a huge piece of property with 1 house on it. And I was just wondering what the...
It's going to be an estate.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I said it's going to be an estate.
Oh, yeah.
Family estate. And I think an interesting way out of a dilemma.
Yeah. Any other questions? Commissioner Cordell?
I think that this proposal should be pursued.
Okay. I'll bring you a full report next meeting.
Thank you.
And then at that point, just to put a bow on that, at that point, if you still want to pursue it, then we'll set a public hearing date.
Do we need a formal count or vote on that?
The consensus is, I agree.
I agree.
I think we're ready for a public hearing.
Anytime you can eliminate redundance.
I mean,
Yeah, and bring those into conformance that were non-conforming. Sounds like a
Are you,
win-win.
are
I
you
would
serious?
think the language is pretty straightforward, just to eliminate the section and rezone.
I mean, what's the worst that happens? You have a public hearing, and then you're not making a decision that night. Yeah, we can schedule that.
Well,
So
I'm just saying, rather than pushing it three more meetings, we could do it in 2 more.
okay,
Does that make sense to anybody else?
Yes.
August 8th.
Okay.
Okay.
In the presentation, you called it an administrative rezoning as opposed to one where there's an outside applicant. Is that the meaning of that term?
That is correct.
Initiated by
I
the
will
township.
begin initiating contact tomorrow.
So that's, contact is asking the property owners if they're interested in pursuing this, or how does that?
Yeah, I will. I'll call and explain.
Right.
Like I said, I think it's a pretty logical thing to say. This is helping you out. It's not increasing your assessment. It's giving you assurance that your property's still buildable if something happens. Yeah, it's.
Actually, it's increasing viability for them.
I'm sorry?
It's increasing the viability of the property.
Correct. It's not as hard a conversation as it would be, obviously, if I was saying, hey, we're going to make a commercial district out of you. And that's a very difficult conversation to have.
You're now a church.
Okay.
Okay. All right, then I believe we are now on item 10, which is Township Board update.
Well, since I'm here, and I apologize, I feel like cliff notes after this because, as you know, the Planning Commission's been very busy, so now the Township Board is very busy. So tomorrow night, public hearing for Hazlet Village Square. Final adoption on the deck amendment for plan unit developments, introduction of the municipal signage amendment, setting a public hearing for the PUD for Jaguar Homes on Hewlett Road, and then for discussion, the traffic impact study and the pods dumpster ordinance that the Planning Commission recommended. So we're going to keep the board busy for a couple weeks here while a couple meetings here while they work through the backlog of items that the Planning Commission has pushed forward. I'd be happy to discuss any of them.
I had a maybe related question. I appreciate the inclusion of the code violation reports in the packet. It's really helpful. Looks like we're getting a lot of tall grass / vegetation. In my experience, that's sometimes a lot of people are sending in complaints, and other times that's township staff are noticing things as they go around. Any notion of where the pendulum swings on that?
A little bit of A, a little bit of B this year. I will say that our complaints were up about 30% through May and June. It has tapered off now substantially, and however, I'm not sure how it's going to show up in the next set of reports, but the newest thing we're getting a lot of complaints about is brush and trees and things like that overhanging sidewalks. We got past the grass and now we're on to the next step. So it was a weird year. I think, reading the tea leaves, I think what happened was, people that missed their first mow, rain started then hitting in a weird cycle, and you were getting it to where it was wet on the weekends, so people weren't able to mow on the weekends, and then you got a lot of people that got behind. There was a person in my neighborhood that they were going to need a brush hog, and they finally had to hire it out because it was too big for their push mower. they missed it. They missed their window. So I think it was a little bit of that this year. Our code enforcement officer has done a phenomenal job in the last year that he's been here, and spent a lot of time in Winslow, but also a lot of time working on other things, and grass has been a busy one this year for him.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kind of, on that same topic, I have a question. I feel like I've asked this before, maybe it's just deja vu, but do we have like any kind of a program available to seniors and elderly, people who are like aging in their homes where it, discounted like lawn service at all? Do we offer anything like that, or does
We
the
do not have
county?
a formal program. I'm certain that if we had that issue, we could put them in touch with someone through Meridian Cares.
Okay.
I can tell you that the majority of our problems are not that.
Okay.
That pops up once or twice a year. And we know who they are, and so we try to proactively help where we can.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Are many of these litigated, or do the people just say, okay, and deal with it?
We've gotten maybe 2 this year that have been upset. It did not go to litigation. They were more concerned that they didn't think we gave them enough time, and when we showed them the pictures of their lawn being almost 12 inches tall, they realized that we gave them plenty of time.
Is 12 inches high?
8 inches is our max.
Okay.
But again, with the way this year went, some of them got a little taller because
Right.
there was a backlog and the weather was off.
Any questions? No?
Thank you all.
How about liaison reports? Commissioner?
Corridor Improvement Authority is scheduled to meet Wednesday, July 20th.
EDC met last week, and mainly what we did was what we didn't do the month before because we didn't have a quorum, which involved paying for some temporary signs for construction. And when we met in June, there was a request to fund a portion of the Juneteenth celebration, but we didn't have a quorum, so we couldn't pass that. So we did on last week and reimbursed very generous Mr. Walsh, who paid for it out of his pocket for that service or that presentation, and we made him whole. So that's pretty much it. We did get an update on the Village of Okemos. They're still trying to get various grants and supports and funding to carry on, and nobody knows what's going on for sure.
It's a slow-moving disaster, yeah.
So that's where that is.
I attended the DDA meeting this morning. This has been a long day. Not much of generalized interest. Their annual report was prepared, and it's all numbers. I have a copy of it if anyone is interested in reviewing it, but it doesn't specifically deal really very much with developments or anything like that. It's mostly just financial reporting. Other than that, there wasn't really much that should be brought to the attention of this board. Anyone else?
I have a question. And it was brought up by one of our community members. This is the year that we are supposedly supposed to be revising the 5-year plan. And I guess my question is that what we're doing with the language? Is that what we're calling it?
No, certainly what we're doing with the zoning ordinance is actually following through on an implementation of the previous plan. As I've stated a couple times this year, the plan was always to kick it off this fall once we've trying to get some semblance of past COVID so that we can hopefully get good public input. And so we'll be bringing forward a plan of attack here probably at the next meeting, hopefully.
Okay, so that's still on the docket.
Absolutely. The plan was always fall, winter, and then probably adoption early in 2023.
Okay.
And also, as I understood it, the last time you talked to us about this, it isn't this time around, it's more of like minor, it's like, it kind of goes, it's cyclical, like The last one was more of a major overhaul. This is more minor
Correct,
updates
that's
and
how we
changes.
anticipate it. Certainly,
We did do a major overhaul on the last one. I remember.
yes.
It was an exhausting overhaul.
Yeah, well, that gives me peace, knowing that this time won't be.
Revisiting it and see where
Yeah.
you can do differently or
Tighten it
better.
up.
Focus on updating goals and objectives that have changed in 5 years. Focus on specific areas of the future land use map, things like that.
I think one of the portions of that will be reporting on success and follow-through with the last plan. And we do have two of our major pikas, which were a focus. That would be the Hazlet Village as well as downtown Okemos, which there are plans and there's stuff going on. Whether the Village of Okemos goes through is still questionable, but it looks like the Hazlet Pica is going to be quite successful, and it's moving forward as we speak. So that's good to see.
Demolition is
We did
underway.
make progress on the 5-year plan, even though, as all 5-year plans, you don't complete it in 5 years.
When the Future Land Use Committee met, we talked about that issue, and one of the possible ways to move forward is to think about either for those portions of the PICAs that have not yet seen the redevelopment, or for those that have seen more comprehensive, to start looking at what's the next area along, so for instance, to the east on the Hazlet side, and to the north on perhaps Okemos Road side, and of course the third one we still have to generate interest in.
And at the EDC, we did discuss that as far as possibly adding a different pica someplace else, maybe something different. So recommendation to do that as part of the 5-year rewrite.
Any other comments?
I just wanted to know, I know we kind of straight away, but with the liaison reports, so the next Transportation Commission meeting is next week, right, the 21st. So I will not be in town. I'll be out of town celebrating an anniversary. So I'm really excited about where we're going. But anyway, so on the 21st, I'll be in Glacier. So I won't be able to attend. I apologize.
Hopefully it won't be burning.
I know, like
Or
Yosemite.
flooding.
Or flooding. So far, they seem to be doing okay there with that. I've been watching that very closely. Yeah,
If you have a chance, go up to the Canadian Park.
that's part of our plan.
That's-
Yeah, we're going to Banff and Jasper too. Very excited. That's why I said I might not come home.
And Lake Louise,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm sorry.
that's fine. I could talk about that all day.
Take us with you in spirit.
Yes,
Adjourn to a
absolutely.
work session to
Right.
If we don't have a quorum, maybe we can move it there.
Yeah, I think that everyone would enjoy that.
Right then. Item 11 on the agenda, we have no project updates,
Nothing new to report.
and the record should reflect that there are no members of the public present for public remarks. Therefore, we are on item 13. Chair will accept. All in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you.
When we were at Lake Louise,